Hello, my name's CJ here at Nine Finger Gaming. Welcome back to Foundry. This is episode 4. In the last episode, we obviously unlocked the lift and the freight elevators. Also unlocked the tier 2 assemblers. Now, in between episodes, as you can see, I have dug out a hell of a lot of the sand off the top. There's just this little patch here, and then we can go on quite a large level plane for quite some time. I'm just in the process of building up the foundations to fill out the land below. Right, so I have set up a little steel factory, basically just from from manual mining. So what I've been doing, I've been using this lift to go down to the ignium, mine out a lot manually, and then come back up and place that into the little factory I've got there. I have to go and steal some ferrite as well from the miners, but as you can see, I've been digging out quite a lot. I just want to see really how the ore generates, to see if it all stays at the same level. It does drop down in a few places, but then starts to build back up. So we are kind of on the center of the line here, but this is just going to be a manual mine. It's not going to be anything too pretty, but it will be something I'll just come down and mine manually over time and add into the systems. It just allows me to come down to get some resources. I do have some ferrite there. Now, one thing I did notice, which we will go over, as you can see, I've built some level 2 drone miners. I've got ourselves a rail miner for ignium, rail miner depot, and some rail mining tracks. That's for the project that we're going to be doing today. I've got some crushers, an elevator, and a freight elevator. I've also crafted up an explosive detonator, which I do actually require to put on a hotbar. I think I'm just going to put that there. And we do also need to craft up some of the explosives for opening out a mine for what we've got planned today. I also built one of these. What this is a scanner. If you place it down, let it come on, tell it to start the scan, and what this basically does is scans down through the levels below and shows you the materials that you have got, and this is in a 5x5 radius. As you can see here then, if we go down between 106 and 96, we've got the limestone. Between 96 and 86 we have ignium rock. Between 74 and 64 we have ferrite rock, and between 54 and 45 we have technum rock. So we'll be able to use this when it comes to placing down our next elevator. What I also wanted to show you quickly then, in regards to the level 2 miners. Now, the ferrite, obviously this gets used quite a lot, just get that off there, and the belt that was coming down here was really patchy. We'll just run up, I'll just show you how much has been mined out. And basically what it was is the more that was getting mined out, the further the little drones were having to travel to mine, which then was slowing down the production coming down the belt. On the other belt, you can still see this same problem where we're getting reduced amounts in patches. We're probably still getting it about 160 per minute, maybe just a bit less than that, but obviously we want these belts to stay as full as possible. So I have got those other 4, and what we're going to do, we're going to run over here quickly and just quickly change those out. Right, so I've changed out all those miners then. As you can see, both of the belts are now running full to the max, so they are now providing more than enough resources to each one of these machines. They're all quite backed up at the moment. We nearly are backed up on research as well. I did go ahead and do a little extra here as well. So basically what we are going to do today, we're going to be setting up the production of the steel beams. Now, with the steel beams, if we take a look here on the recipe, it requires 60 ferrite ore and 30 ignium ore, and that crafts us 30 steel ingots per minute. And the 30 steel ingots per minute, if we look at the recipe, This is on the assembly 2, like the Mach 2 assembly, so it takes the 30 per minute steel ingots and turns that into 30 per minute steel beams. Now, if we go on to here and just look at the rail miner for the ignium, the ignium rail miner actually produces max items of around 150 items per minute. So with 150 ignium coming up, what we can then do is craft that into 5 separate induction smelters. As you can see as well, these induction smelters are slightly smaller than the original smelters. These are 4 wide and 8 long. These are only 3 wide and 6 long. So we've got all those set up. We've got all of these ready to be belted in. The only issue we're going to have is obviously it is 5 machines, so we are going to need to split it down into 5 belts, and this is the balance that I have come up with. So we've got the 1 splitter here, which will take the 1 rail in. It will split that between 2. These 2 will then split that between 6, and because we only need 5, we will take the 6 line, bring it back round and back into the system, and that should roughly give us the even 5 split. Give or take, depends how well these distributors work, but that should be adequate enough for what we're going to use. However, I have built this too close and I will have to pull it back, and I'm going to have to do the same with the xenoferrite. Now the xenoferrite I'm going to have to bring in from this deposit here, which means I'll have to set up some more Mark II miners over in that direction and belt that all the way across to here. Now the next thing I did, I took this elevator. I was planning on recording this, but unfortunately the record didn't start. Whether I double tap the button, because I only managed to get a second. Oh, my bad. So yeah, I took the elevator, placed it over here at first, as the elevators will dig down. I used this device here, the ground sensor, to tell me roughly the depth at which the ignium rock can be found. And it says between 87 and, I can't quite see it, but 97. So we took it down to 87. I had to bring it up onto 88 just so we're definitely getting the ignium ore. And then if I take it down and show you what we've done, I've actually been opening it out with some of the explosives. Now the explosives, they actually take, that was a bit weird, they actually take the ignium ore, wire coils, electrical components and xenoferrite plates, and I did craft up just a few just to test out. As you can see, they're pretty good at opening up these spaces. With this is blast resistant, this is blast resistant. Not sure about the foundations, but we're going to try and avoid hitting those. And I'll just give you a quick demonstration on how these work. So you place one down, hold the detonator, and it clears a considerable area. Obviously we are losing the potential resources we could be collecting through this, but we simply need to open up an area to mine out. That was exactly where I wanted that. We can actually see that this xenoferrite is raising up. We don't want to be digging into the rock, we want to be maximizing the amount of xenoferrite that we're going to get, so we'll probably end up mining over in this direction with the miners. So I've just got to open up some more of this area, place some flooring down, and then I'll bring you back in when we're going to wire it all up. So I'll see you all in just a moment. Right, so here we are, we're back again. We've opened this area, put some flooring in. One thing I do want to do just before we get started, I want to place a power pole here, which I'm going to want to connect to that. I also want to make sure that we've got some power down here. I'm just going to connect that to that. Right, so do just want to quickly test this area, make sure that it doesn't go so far in and suddenly turns to stone. I'll take this out as well, don't want to waste any of this ignium. I'm mining it out of my hand, I may as well take this selection floor. Yeah, It does come up there, but that comes up level with where we're working from, so that's not too bad. As long as it stays in that should be perfectly fine. Let me just get some flooring in there. Just have a quick peek down here, just to double check. Yeah, it seems like that is going to be fine. Right, so what I'm going to want to place down first then for the mining. I did check see if the miners work, but unfortunately they don't actually work down here. You can't place them, so they don't work underground. So we're going to want the depot, which I think we'll place over here. As long as we're leaving a 2-block gap there, I'm okay. Maybe even a 3-block gap. Yeah, that should work actually. The 3-block gap will be much better for us. Let me just also fill in that. And then from there, I believe we have to place down a couple of tracks. So it would be, why can't I place that? Oh, I see. That's actually slow. Yeah, so we have to place down a couple of tracks. And then that should then allow us to place down a train. What is still blocking that? So it needs to be dug out a 3x3. This should actually for us. Will that be enough? If it is that we need to go slightly higher, which I believe we do, I'm just gonna use our last explosive and put it up high, fingers crossed. It shouldn't do anything to our foundations down below. Brilliant, that hasn't touched anything. So place that in there. Then we can take our train. It's got no grid connection. So let's connect that straight to there. So it doesn't connect off the grid of the foundations. This actually, I believe it has a connection point on top. Where did that connect to? Oh, it just connected straight to it. I thought I'd seen a connection point on the top, but I must be mistaken. So yeah, that's going to connect up to there. Manage the infantry. Oh, we have to put some rails in here as well. So place 20 rails in. And I also wonder, where do we put the train? Oh, the train goes there. And then if we click launch, that's why you need the 2 tracks, which is 2 tracks in length. And there we go, it's just started. So what it's going to do now, it's going to dig forward. When it hits any rock, it's going to start to collect. And this will collect at, is that collected 3? Maybe it's because it's on drilling a 3x3 block there. Maybe we'll get more if it is up against a straight block. Might actually get it there. Let's take out this. Take out the 1 block last. There we go. Oh, we've actually got, oh, the collection's out. That was alright. I managed to get it out. Yeah, we'll just take out those there. Let's see how much it's now producing. So that one's coming in, we've got 23, and we've now dropped to 35, so that's 5 plus 7. So we're getting 12 at a time, so it's still only doing 4 blocks if it's doing 3 at a time. But should eventually, once it goes into the full squares, it should start bringing in around 150 items per minute. Right, now those items, we would send them up to the top, but as you can see, what it actually produces is igneous rubble. And what we have to do, we have to process that rubble into a resource that we can use efficiently. So we're going to have to open up some more area before we can send these items back up to the surface. So the way we're going to do that, we're going to craft ourselves some more explosives. Ooh, craft 33. So that is going to be more than enough for us. Let those craft up. We want to chuck those high so as not to damage our foundations. And I'm going to open up the area, bring you back in, and we will need to sort out how we're going to process these items, and then we'll be sending them back up to the surface for us to use up there. So I'll be back with you in a moment, and we'll get sorted on setting up the way we're going to process it. Right, I've opened up a little bit of space then. I actually made a slight miscalculation when it came down to the machines that we're going to use upstairs. I was actually basing them off the output of these, which obviously is the ignium rubble. As you can see, I've placed 2 trains down, so that should now be generating roughly around 150 each, which would be 300 in total. And the reason I've done so is if we go over to the crushers, which we're going to be using to crush the materials down into the ignium ore that we're going to be using. We go across to here, ignium ore. The recipe actually uses 100 per minute and produces 40 per minute. So this is going to produce enough for 3 of these machines, which is going to produce 120 ignium ore per minute, which obviously is going to change what we've got going upstairs. Obviously, we're going to have to split these down. So if I place that there, we have an output here and here. They will go into the splitter, which will split those items. In fact, I'm going to want to push that forward just a touch. So let's get that, get off, there we go. Right, so we're going to place that there, which is then going to split obviously into 4, which isn't going to benefit us because we only need 3. So we're just going to do our little switcheroo and get that placed back into one of those. Now, to even that up a bit more, what we could look to do, it may not be necessary, but we're going to do it anyway. We place one of these here, or actually let's place it further back, and this is just to try and keep the balance as best as possible. So this one would go still through to here. This one would then have to travel up and go across, where this would then need to travel down. So maybe if we bring it to there, this is going to look a bit like cheese, but for now it's going to have to work for us. We're going to want it to go into there. We'll have this sloping down, and we're going to need that to transfer onto this rail here. So yeah, that should evenly split the 2, and they should now evenly split onto the belts and balance out the 3 rails that we've got. Because if it's all pumping into one side and it can't quite fit, as you can see, it will just stop there. So what we really wanted to do is to split between the 2 and try and balance it on both rails should there be available splits, and that should give us an even balance across these 3 here. Fingers crossed. It does look like we're probably just going to have to open up a little bit more space around here, because we're going to need the 3 belts coming off. One will go this way, one will be right here, and one will probably have to go this way. And the machines themselves, let me just dig out that. I don't really want to be wasting any of this potential ore I could be grabbing. Obviously there is loads down here, so it won't really matter, but I just want to make sure that for now we are maximising the use out of what we have available. So if we bring that to here, we'll have to actually take off this rail here. You know what? This stuff underneath, there's that much on the map, I don't think we're going to need that at all. So we're going to have the machines. Where are my grinders? There. We're going to have one machine here, one machine here, and one machine right here. So this one's going to input to here. Let's get, oh, not gravel. Let's get those set up onto ignium ore. So they're all set to ignium ore. Then we're going to need some inputs. So one there, one directly there, and one on the end there. And then definitely going to need to open this up just a touch more, just so we can get a belt out of there. So let's clear ourselves these few bits around here. There. Just give us some headroom. This should allow us to put a belt in along the back, which we're going to use the Mark II belt, which should give us more than enough throughput for the 120 that these are going to generate. Let's get that placed into there. We may as well put our belt on. So the belt will come out here. The belt is going to need to end at this point here, so we can get that belt in place. Get the input on there, and we want to swap to output. We're just going to have 3 outputs all spaced out on the ends right there, and that should get the ore inputting out, and we should start seeing the pallets going up, taking the ore to the surface. So this is now producing the ore for us. We go up to the ground level, and I'll show you what it is that I've done up here, and then it's just going to be a case of getting the xenoferrite. Now the xenoferrite, obviously we're going to be mining enough to fill a belt of 320. Now if I was to separate that down, it would be a hell of a lot of splitters, and it would leave us with 80 that we could use elsewhere. Now we're not going to go straight for efficiency, so unfortunately I'm not going to be doing that. Instead we're just going to have a overfill, so there is going to be slightly more going into these. I believe it's going to be around 20 more than they need, because these are only going to need 60 per minute. I believe they're all going to get around 80 per minute. So we'll just have to deal with that. That's just going to have to be something that we'll just have to ignore for now. When we come to making the factory larger, we'll probably try and produce things at a more even rate. So now, here we go. There comes the resources of the ignium, and that is being split between the 4 now, nice and evenly. So they're all going to get a equal share of the ignium that's coming up. As you can see, it's going to start building up because they haven't got the xenoferrite. So the xenoferrite, I've placed this belt in. I haven't completed the belt. I do need some more belts, and we definitely need to get ourselves across there. So I've come through to this junction here and started to go along that junction. You can see this double thickness here. I'm going to bring it close to this one, where it will then take a 90 towards the ore deposit right here. So I'm going to grab all the parts, get that connected up, and we should be able to race back and beat the ores back to this location once we've got it all set up, and then we'll see the process that's going to unfold then. Then we're going to have to move on to something else. So I'll be back in just a moment once I've got the ore deposit mining out over there, and once we've got the steel bars being processed over here. So see you all in just a moment. Right, here we are then, we're back. I've just parked up the resources for here, and I did actually just think to myself, I actually want to place a storage box in here, just as always, so it's a bit of a buffer. We're going to have to build that up a couple, probably not that much. Yeah, whatever, we'll do that anyway. We'll probably actually put one in here, take out those ones, just so we've got somewhere to stand up that side. Probably won't need these ones here. So yeah, we're going to want a storage box. This is my last one. Place that there. And we're going to want an input. And then an output. So we just got this nice buffer tube. And those resources should be getting here momentarily. I think they're just coming through the tunnel now. Yep, here they come. And those will start pumping in. As I said, we're going to have a bit of an overflow. There's going to be more resources going in than what we actually require. So it's going to be about 80 more going into the belt than what's required for these 4 machines. So as soon as that starts processing, what it's then going to do is going to process that into the steel ingots, which is then going to go into here and process into the steel bars. So we're going to be having 30 steel bars a minute over here. I was going to part them out into a inventory, into a one of these, into a container, but I think for now we won't do that. Instead, we have unlocked the research lab level 3, so I'm just going to craft one of those up. And I believe this research lab, in fact we can take all this down now. Is that full? Why is that not working? Xenoferrite ore. Let's take all that out. We chuck it into one of these machines. Then just fill up the machines with the xenoferrite just to get that out of that inventory. And what I'll do is I'll take all of this down. And a lot of these here are just my machines I placed down just to get a reading of what items we're going to need and how many we're going to need. This is also completely done with now. Oh, this has still got some ore in, so we're going to place that in those machines. Get rid of these. Take those, which will give us the steel beams that it had created. And now we should be able to get our can I equip that, or do I have to really place it down there? I do. Right, so this is going to be the tier 3. Now we've got, I just want to work out the spacing. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 to the edge of that. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wide. So we're going to want 4 from off here, and I believe the middle point is here. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I place down that'll be the far corner. So we should be able to work from that. If I could see, that's going to be the rear. I think that's right there. Ooh, that was perfect. So yeah, that's the back there. That leads right up to this back here. It's going to be evenly spaced out. Oh, I'm going to try and do that. There we go. Right, so what does this one need? This one needs electronic components 400 and advanced machinery parts. Now, currently we aren't making any advanced machine parts. They take the steel beams and 2 machinery parts per. How many do we need? We need 200. And what is holding us back? Just sort that so I can see better. We have 200 steel beams, so it's just the machine parts. Yep. So we'll just grab a couple of stacks of those, and we want 200 of those. So let's get those all crafted. They do craft relatively fast, so it shouldn't take us too long. I believe that's enough. Yep. We'll just let those craft up, and we also need the electronical components. We need 400 of those, which don't have any on us, but obviously we do have them grafted up here, so let's get those placed in there. So we're just waiting on those machine parts. Right, we have those parts all done, so let me get those placed in there. And oh, we still need 400 steel beams. I didn't actually spot that one at the top there, but I believe that is going to be relatively easy because we can just grab those out of there. Let's quickly run back across here, place those in, finish the construction, and that unlocks us science packs 3, circuit boards, ignium fuel rods, and underground mining of xenoferrite ore and the technum ore, which that is going to be extremely good for us. It means that we're probably going to be able to move away from actually using those small little ore deposits, which will stop us having all this cheese wire all over the map. I'm guessing we're still going to have to crush those down. Do I have a crusher on me so we can look at the ratios? So, wonder if that just actually enriched ignium pellets, ignium powder, ignium ore. So maybe it just actually doesn't do it in the rock form, and we can actually just mine it straight into its ore, which would be a little strange. I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's something on the research itself. So what we have to unlock now is conveyors 2. Ooh, filter loaders. That's pretty good. We got inventory upgrade, a loader of the 3rd lane, so we can go across 3 lanes. We've got map scan for Olamite, mining drill speed, piping, and research lab 4. So not quite a lot to unlock during this research section. I actually thought there would have been more than that. I mean, we've got piping, and it seems like that has a tree of its own that we can go through. So it is going to unlock into further advancements. That one just ends there. We do have obviously the conveyors and freight elevator 3. Those conveyors, 640 items per minute, so that is another quite reasonable increase on the resources. Yeah, now that is going to do it for today's episode then. Obviously we've gone through, we've sorted out our steel production. Ooh, no power. Ooh. Well, we know what we're going to have to sort out in the next episode, and that is probably going to be our power. Now, I did actually go through during this episode and increase our power. So we had a full row of 24 here. I inserted another row of 24 and another row of 24. Simply because the amount that we're now using in power wasn't enough to charge these batteries to the max. And now we've also come to a point where we are not carrying enough charge to keep everything running. So we're going to have a look at another power, another way of generating power, which I believe is going to be the combustion generator. Now, I have already crafted one. Quickly place it down. This is what they look like. They're only 4 wide and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they're literally the same size as the smelters. And these take ignium ore, from what I gather, and just generate pure power. Now, the rate at which they burn the ignium ore, that's something that I'm going to have to look into. But I believe the first thing we're going to have to do within the next episode is increase our power outputs. Probably use as much as we can here, and we may actually set up an ignium miner down here, which will just be for our power. One thing I do need to make note of as well is the direction that I put these miners in. I wouldn't want to set one off in this direction and collide with the ones we've got here. Let's just quickly take a peek at that, and then that's probably going to be it for today's episode. So let's have a look at the direction we went in. So that is the direction of our power supply, and we are actually going away. So that's brilliant. We're actually heading away from our production. So yeah, that's pretty much going to be perfect for us then, so it isn't going to intrude or collide with what we've already got going up there. We just have to be careful in the future should we need to place any more mines down. Try to keep all of them going in that direction. Maybe the power one will go in that direction, unless obviously we have some that are really close by. We may have to alter the directions that they be travelling. And there we have it. It's now morning as well, so we can take a look at the research station, and really it's just a case of colour change. So we've gone from blue to red to green science, and that science is something else that we're going to have to get onto in the next episode, which is just going to take electronic components, advanced machine parts, and some of those ignium fuel rods. So whether we get that done in the next episode, we'll have to wait and see. We're definitely going to have to get a process for those ignium fuel rods. Right, so if you have enjoyed today's episode, obviously do feel free to leave a like, and if you haven't already and you'd like to be notified of my upcoming videos, as again, please feel free to subscribe. Thank you.